School's reopening. Let's talk about how I keep my shop sanitized and clean. Shit happens. Here we go. All right. So as we open up school, we are opening, well, by the time you hear this, school will actually already be opened. I was hoping to have an interview scheduled, but due to school reopening, everything kind of got pushed to the back burner. So it's just me today. But I want to talk about sanitation. I want to talk about cleanliness and how we're able to keep the shop clean. One of my biggest concerns when going into this school year, well, I guess I can say that right now because we're going to be restarting, but going into the school year with sanitizing is how am I clean anyways? So before COVID, I mean, I guess I wasn't as clean as I could have been, right? When we talk about COVID now, we're doing crazy things when it comes down to cleaning. We're doing fogging of the rooms, Lysol wipes, we're doing crazy stuff. But how can I make my shop cleaner? Before this, yeah, we swept, we cleaned up the dust, we got everything. I had hand sanitizer available, but now everything's a little bit more difficult, I guess, difficult and different. So when I talk about cleaning from a perspective of a teacher during COVID, I'm talking about wiping down surfaces. I'm talking about getting everything cleaned up and disinfected, because the last thing we want is a kid to be sick. It goes for almost any teacher. I don't want any kid, any student to really be sick or feel like they're not welcome or not safe, I should say, at school. So what do we do? How do we go through the actual cleanliness process? Well, I had a couple concerns. So our protocol goes like this. We wear a mask with the exception of right now because there's no one here and I'm in my own shop in my own room. So it's kind of like my own space. So I'm kind of surrounded by my own germs. So I don't really wear a mask in my classroom, which is totally normal, and I think that's the way it should be. When I have kids, though, I wear a mask all the time when there's kids present. The protocol goes like this. Everyone's masked up. I can wear a face mask with just a face mask, or I can wear a face shield with a drape, is what I wanted to say, like a little drape that's draped down, and I can be good there. I don't really like face shields as much as I like just a mask. When it comes down to woodworking, masks are pretty standard anyways. I mean, the sawdust is relatively dangerous and bad for your lungs, so I need to make sure I'm using the most protecting thing possible. So I usually have a bunch of N95 masks. I've given and donated those away. I just got another shipment in and I can't believe it. It's been a long time since I was able to order some good dust masks. Anyways, so I am working on, we have masks. We have hand sanitizer available. We have wipes now, spray to spray down our work areas. And then every night our rooms are fogged. So they fog our rooms and spray a disinfectant. My biggest concern was how these disinfectants interact. I wouldn't say interact, but how these disinfectants affect my technology in my shop. Now, because my room is really small, I was only able to fit 8 desks in the room socially distanced. I have to do a lot of my teaching in the shop. So the district was extremely supportive. We got cameras, computers in the shop, everything I need to fully teach in the shop. I'm working on getting a TV in there for those students that are going to be in person and actually can see what we're doing. So we've been working on it and getting things rolling. But my biggest concern was, okay, you have all this stuff that could cause problems. Why or what are we going to be spraying in here? And it's taking me a long time to get answers. I'm supposed to get an answer later on, maybe tomorrow or into Monday. But I'm assuming it's alcohol based, and that's probably the best case scenario because alcohol is not really going to mess with my electronics too much. In fact, in case you guys don't know this, a lot of electronics are cleaned solely with alcohol. Isotropic, I can't even speak, alcohol. And it basically evaporates before any sort of the leftover, it's not really even water, but before it starts to rust or ruin any components. So that's always cool with water, and not really water, but with alcohol and cleaning components. So moving through, I'm trying to figure out what would be the best way to keep my tools and machines safe. I guess I kind of have to see. I guess I kind of have to see how it's going and how it works out that day I come in. I think it's a little scary as well when we talk about, sanitization and making sure everything's sanitized. I mean, everyone asks, well, what did you do before? Well, before we weren't really super concerned. I mean, I had my pack of Clorox wipes. I had everything that would wipe down if someone was sick, but it was never this intense. And I think that's what's throwing a lot of teachers off, is that it's really intense cleaning. It's making sure everyone's super safe. And that's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. But it's also hard because I have a lot of expensive equipment. I was really blessed to get grants and to, fight for this stuff. And it's not the easiest, time to get POs approved, that sort of thing for schools. So I had to fight for a lot of things. When it comes down to recording this podcast, I'm very lucky to have the setup that I do. I mean, I record on a Rode, Procaster or a Rodecaster Pro. I record using a canister, Audio Technica mic. I have a lot of stuff I'm really excited about. I have my Mac that I record on and do all my edits, but you have to be concerned about what things are going to be spraying in here and the long-term effects that it has upon your electronics. Anyways, when it comes down to it, that was the biggest discussion we had about tools and about electronics in our tools too, because we have, a lot of power tools in there and they're kind of finicky. In case you guys never dealt with a power tool, they're a little bit weird and each of them have their own like little language you have to do to start them up and get them to run good. And so I've been kind of working through that. I've been trying to work through any of the potential issues that I see. And those issues are probably the hardest ones as well. I want to make sure everyone's safe, everything's clean. When I go through sanitation and I sanitize, well, I bought my own fogger, believe it or not. And I've been sanitizing with a spray I know is safe for machines. And in fact, the best one I have, I'm looking at it right now. So if you hear my voice change, it's Odobon. It's a disinfectant, but it also removes odor. That's why I've been spraying currently. And it works really well. It's alcohol based. It's safe for tools, safe for people. Obviously, I wouldn't spray anything that's not safe. I think probably the craziest thing though is people asking me how I'm going to teach in a mask. For those of you that aren't teachers that are trying to figure it out, it's not much different than what we're doing right now. So I was watching a YouTuber, I can't remember his name right now. Let me see if I can look him up real quick as we're talking. Well, I was watching him and John Malecki, he makes crazy epoxy stuff. He's honestly the most entertaining person I've seen. But he he bought a new mask and it looked like a spaceship helmet. It was a hard hat, N95, not N95, it was way better than that. It's a hard hat. Z87 is what I wanted to say, so it's impact resistant, and it's a PAPR kit, PAPR kit, and it's basically 3M's VersaFlow. You can look it up. It is about $1,700, which is insane. So it is essentially looks like a spaceship helmet, has a tube, and it pumps air into, it like filters the air and pumps it into your face from the tube. It looks incredible, and I definitely want to buy one really badly. But they are expensive. I'm looking at about $1,100, $1,200 for one of these things, and it's literally insane. It runs on cartridges. I have a cartridge thing, but we can, website. Yeah, no, but it looks incredible, and I don't have anything cool like that. When it comes down to those sort of things, when you're dealing with silica and you're dealing with products like that, or not products, but I would say when you're dealing with chemicals, and I wouldn't even call them organic vapors, that's a completely different thing, but silica is its own molecule essentially. When you're dealing with stuff like that and that small of a level, you want to make sure everything's filtered out. And when it comes with industry level and you're doing a lot of asbestos work and that sort of thing, you want to make sure you're the safest you possibly can be. So when I think about these sort of products, I'm really thinking about my own health and doing things. I work in an old shop. I mean, this shop was made in easily the 50s or 60s. So when I talk about this shop and when I go through this shop, I mean, there's stuff that probably super dangerous, probably cancer causing later on in life. But you just kind of live. I wouldn't say you just kind of live through it, but you just kind of go through as much as you possibly can. And I think the system is super. And I would love to get my hands on one of them. If anyone here has a hookup with 3M and would like to sponsor a teacher, that would be fantastic. I think they have a healthcare one. That one looks even crazier. Wow. I like the heavy industry one. I think that one's probably look, you can fit like earmuffs on them and like attach. It's like a hard hat almost. That's insane. Anyways, so guys, welding in one. Why choose PAPR? Comfortable integrated protection against multiple hazards. So this is powered air purifying respirators is what PAPR stands for. I don't even know if PAPR is the right thing, but they do offer a lot of things. Wow, this is insane. So anyways, we are teachers are trying to find ways. I mean, I have like respirators and big masks and stuff that I wear when I'm doing large things, especially when I'm sanding epoxy, doing epoxy work. That stuff is really dangerous. If it gets into your lungs, it causes a lot of problems. So when it comes down to creating and buying things, I think we need to really pay attention. And it's down to teachers paying attention too. We need to know what's out there, and it's really hard when we're getting hit, propaganda left and right. It's really difficult. I mean, if I want to buy some Clorox wipes, I don't even understand. But let's check out Target right now, see if we can buy some Clorox wipes, because at the end of the day, you want to make sure you're safe. I don't even think you can buy any Clorox wipes right now. Ooh, you can. Look at that. Oh no. Oh. You can buy it in a store, but you cannot buy, you have to actually go there and actually buy it. They have it in stock though. I think it's crazy. And I mean, I'm not condoning panic buying, but really it's important to kind of buy that stuff, especially if you're a teacher. They should really, obviously limit it, but there's all that stuff is certainly important, trying to make sure that you are as safe as you possibly can and that you're essentially loaded up stuff. I'm not into gloves, so we have gloves as well. So essentially when students walk in, we are going to have a little station set up with masks, gloves, hand sanitizer, and when they go to their, that's right, when they walk in, when they go to their desk, they have either wipes or spray bottles, and they spray down their work or their desk work area, and that's it. Before they leave, they also spray it down, then they leave the building. Our buildings aren't going to be fogged in between, which makes sense. It's some of the aerosol stays in the air for 5 minutes, and we just don't have that amount of time for passing. So it does make sense why that's like that. I think a lot of these teachers are upset about these steps that are being taken. They don't really feel the safest, and these products also don't make them feel the safest either. I mean, they don't know what's in these products to make them actually work against bacteria or viruses, that sort of thing. So yeah, understandably people are a little upset and they're concerned. When a lot of these stuff gets passed on Facebook and other sort of modes of, I guess, information, yeah, it's natural for people to get a little upset. And I think that's the thing that we need to work on as a society, is making sure we are, one, as safe as we possibly can, and two, we need to be as, I guess, responsible as we possibly can. I have a hard time wearing a mask. It's not because, I refuse to. It's not because I don't like to. I mean, I don't like to. I don't think anyone likes to, but I have a hard time doing it because I forget. I'm a busy person, and I would, honest to God, forget and run around and do stuff without a mask. Is that safe? Probably not. Some will argue no. Some may argue yes. That it just depends. I don't know how to feel about those states that have mask mandates. Do I think you should be forced to wear a mask? I don't know, man. I have a hard time. I have a hard time, going either way. I have a hard time telling people. We obviously are not a super solid country in listening to rules. I mean, that's how we were created. England tries to pass a rule and we say, nah, we don't need that. Try to pass a tax and pass things on. No. So, do I say that we were created that way, to break rules and not to follow rules? Yeah, I'd probably say that. Do I think that that's how we should always be? I don't know. I think we live in a world that is very concerned with how we are doing. And we live in a world that's very concerned about what each other's business is and what they're doing, and not being concerned with themselves first. And I attribute that, and that's not a bad thing. Before you start, jumping on Twitter, _ChipHappens, before you start jumping on Twitter, trying to defend yourself, understand where I'm coming from. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think being aware and being in each other's business necessarily isn't a bad thing. I don't think it's a good thing either. I think naturally, with social media and all the information people are throwing out there, it's only natural for us to be caught in other people's business, other people's stuff, right? But we need to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves first and being less judgy in the end of the day, because the last thing I want people to do is judge each other or judge me. I think there's too much judging going on in the world, and there's not enough self-reflection, and there's not enough, reflecting upon what they are doing and everything themselves. So just a couple things that almost keep in mind, right? Now, when we look through and when we talk about sanitization and when we talk about being safe with kids, I think the most thing I do, I can't even talk right now. I think the most I focus on is about making sure my students feel safe, because if they feel safe and comfortable, then technically learning is easier. And that's what's most important, is that students need to feel safe and need to feel comfortable in order to actually fully learn, because learning is literally comfort. If you're not comfortable, I shouldn't say Socrates will be pissed off right now because he believes in learning through discomfort. But if you don't feel safe, if you're not comfortable, that's okay. But if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel some sort of safety, you're going to have a hard time actually learning something. Now, I know everyone's different. Everyone's like, I learn being uncomfortable and not feeling safe. I like challenge that. I don't think you do. I think you need to have some sort of sense of safety. And if these sanitation supplies, if wearing a mask, if wearing gloves, if staying 6 feet apart makes my kids feel safe, then why am I not going to do that? Why am I not going to take those precautions or those measures to really make my students feel safe? I think that's the overall thing that we should be asking us on both sides. However, if I don't feel safe coming to work, then there's a little bit of an issue issue because, I don't know. I have a hard time people saying I don't feel safe because of COVID. Well, what did you do when the flu was around? And I remember I asked my mentor this week. I said, at what point in the 1920 Spanish flu outbreak, they just say, screw it, we're going back. We're turning everything back down. I said, I want to meet, because we still had the flu, I want to meet the person or the people who just said, screw it, we're going back, right? We're opening everything back up, because we went back to normal after the Spanish flu. I mean, people plastered pictures all over the place of people wearing masks back then, all that sort of jazz. But I want to know, at what point did we just go back to normal and say, well, survival of the fittest? Maybe that's a really barbaric thing for me to say, survival of the fittest. I don't know. It could be. But, maybe Darwin was a little bit right on that one. I'll never forget. I think it was, what was it? Was it, Day After Tomorrow? There was some movie talking about if we don't have war, if no one dies, Mother Nature will take care of it herself. Maybe this is one of those things, if I can think, a little cynically, maybe this is one of those things where Mother Nature is, trying to is a little bit of the burden. I don't know. No, it's just, I sound like a little bit of conspiracy theorist on that one. I'm definitely not at all. So I don't know, but it's something interesting to think about. Maybe give you a little bit of an idea to think about that one. But as we think about sanitation, I want you guys to think about, things you do in your home that make you feel safe. Would that be something we should do in schools? That'd be something we should do in workplaces? What are you doing right now to make yourself feel safe? If you feel bad about, or not bad, but if you are scared of the coronavirus, what are you doing at home to make your home life more sanitary and more safe? And then should we do that at school? I have a teacher who teaches here who drives me up the wall that sprays Lysol everywhere. Do I think that is the way we should go? I honest to God have no idea if that is the way, but if that's how you feel safe, then by all means, that you're going to be more productive and you're going to be more successful if you feel safe. If you want to call success that. If you want to say that that's what success is, who knows? I think when it comes down to teaching and when it comes down to safety, sanitization, we need to make sure that we are keeping everything as clean as possible. I hate dirty things. I've just spent the entire morning cleaning the windows outside my shop and they're still dirty. They've never been cleaned. And it's like people wrote in them and they're etched inside the glass because of all the dirt and the abrasiveness in the dirt. So it's kind of crazy. It's kind of wild. I think when it comes down to being safe and being sanitary, we can go on all day about what I do to clean and how I make my shop as clean as I possibly can. But we don't have the time, just like I don't have the time to make my shop super clean. Anyways, guys, I want to thank you guys so much for listening. We are on episode 29. Eventually, and I'm just going to give you guys a heads up, season 1 of Chip Happens is going to be ending relatively soon. I need a couple weeks break to kind of gain some ideas and really figure out what I want to talk about, because right now I'm just grasping at straws. So I think I'm going to take a couple weeks off. We'll come right back with season 2 and talk about some sort of things. Maybe just a week. I don't know. Maybe not. Who knows? Depends if I get a burst of ideas or not. But I want to get some stuff recorded. I want to have, more time to spend with my students, my family, my coworkers, that sort of thing. So I want to make sure I have some banked up. I record these a week in advance so you guys have something to listen to. But I'll be sure to let you know. I think episode 30 might be the best time to really call it a season and pick right back up in a couple weeks. So anyways, I appreciate every single one of you guys listening. Even if I do leave, I will be back. I promise. All right. For right now, I will see you guys next week with hopefully another exciting episode. All right. Hey, follow Chip Happens __ Chip Happens on Twitter, please. All right. I will catch you guys in the next episode. See you guys later. This has been an episode of the Chip Happens podcast. Thank you all for listening, and I will catch you next week with another exciting episode.